okay? Buckle up, because Pluribus Episode 3 takes us on a wild, icy, and surprisingly emotional ride where every moment crackles with that tension between personal freedom and enforced togetherness. If you thought Carol's story was just going to be about resisting the hive mind, this episode pours a whole blizzard over that idea with moments both hilarious and deeply unsettling. Plus, it gets seriously philosophical by the end. So, let's go step by step through this episode, pulling apart each twist, joke, awkward interruption, and heart-wrenching reveal. The episode kicks off in an ice hotel high up in Norway, where Carol's exhaustion and skepticism meet the full force of luxury frostiness. The show has fun with the details. The beds are carved entirely out of ice, the furs are thick, the brandy is distilled locally from ice wine, and every room, rebuilt each year thanks to melting snow, feels like a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Carol and her friend Helen wander through these surreal accommodations with that kind of, did we really spend 6 figures for this energy? Despite the cold, Helen tries to make the best of it, cozying up under blankets, marveling at the carved koi fish bed, and even celebrating Carol's book hitting the bestseller list. But beneath the playful banter, jokes about Rick Steves, travel tips, and sleeping on an ice bed after flying 16 hours, there's an emotional current. Helen's supportive but teasing, Carol's guarded yet grateful, and the ice hotel becomes a symbol for what's lingering between them, something beautiful and fleeting, but also chilling and uncomfortable. From this point, the episode makes a big leap, moving from the cold tranquility of Norway to the clinical sterility of an airplane cabin. The crew is strangely informative and accommodating. Carol engages in steady conversation with the hive, now the collective consciousness behind most of humanity. The hive brags about their efficiency, pilot experience, and even offers Carol first-class comfort. But behind the surface, Carol probes what it actually means to live in a fully networked human society. She's curious about other immune individuals, the few left who aren't part of the hive. And the conversation is awkward, filled with half-translated banter and panicky exchanges as Carol tries to reach Maniso's Oviedo, a stubborn stranger from Paraguay. Maniso's short, fused Spanish insults make it instantly clear Carol isn't alone in her frustration, and being immune is just as lonely for him. The exchange, while brief and angry, marks a turning point for Carol. She's not the last holdout against the hive, and maybe, just maybe, these scattered humans can help each other through the alienating aftermath of the world's transformation. Back home, Carol faces a brand new kind of invasion, hyper-efficient, all-knowing helpers, courtesy of the hive. Her fridge's contents are memorized, her breakfast cooked to perfection based on a note she wrote at a B&B years earlier. Gifts from Helen arrive and trigger old grief. The hive tries to make Carol comfortable, but the constant reminders of how much they know and how much they care just rub salt in a wound that never heals. Carol feels violated. Her privacy is gone. Her memories of Helen aren't just hers anymore. And even her smallest choices are absorbed and acted on by a force she didn't choose. The show makes it clear The hive isn't evil or controlling in an obvious way. It's relentless in its desire to help and soothe. When Carol demands that no one ever bring up Helen again, the hive complies without question, which only makes her loneliness sharper. She pushes back against their efforts, demanding her groceries be returned to her local store instead of delivered directly to her home. But even then, their cheerful cooperation makes independence feel like a sham. She's being coddled even as she resists. Then comes one of the episode's most intense moments. Carol's growing frustration leads her to joke about wanting a hand grenade, a morbid, sarcastic dig that falls flat with the hive, who take every request seriously. They actually deliver a real grenade, because why wouldn't they? And when Carol pulls the pin in disbelief, Zosia, one of the hive's agents who's been trailing her, throws herself out a window to save her. There's no malice, only pure sacrifice. Carol is horrified. Her careless words almost caused real harm. The hive isn't angry. They're worried, apologetic, and still desperate to make things right. The message is unsettling. Carol is the only one left with the power to hurt. And even the hive's gestures of trust can be tragically dangerous. The episode keeps probing, taking the grenade incident further. In a post-crisis conversation, Carol asks whether the hive would ever deny her a weapon, like a bazooka or even a nuclear bomb. Their answer: they'd always try to make her happy, but they'd warn her about the destruction it might cause. They claim they wouldn't feel good about it, but ultimately, her agency matters more than their principles. This radical literalness is both funny and deeply uncomfortable. Carol comes face to face with the reality that total freedom brings not just joy, but real risk, even catastrophe. Throughout this, Carol's grief over Helen keeps returning. The hive's gentle attention isn't just practical, it's loving, inherited from Helen's feelings and memories. No matter how much Carol tries to keep Helen's memory for herself, she can't claw it back from humanity. The hive shares it, because Helen loved Carol, and now all their minds do too. That tenderness is what makes the hive so eerie. They're peaceful, efficient, and impossibly kind, but in a way that strips individuals of their deepest privacy. The show ends with Carol simmering in this paradox. She's fighting for free will, messiness, and the right to make mistakes, even dangerous ones. But the hive's version of agency is about joy, safety, and collective harmony, where violence and suffering simply don't happen by choice. Carol realizes, reluctantly, that true independence means isolation and risk, but also love and memory, both what you choose to keep and what you can't stop others from taking. By the final moments, there's no answer, just the hard question: is the cost of freedom worth the pain, or would you trade risk for perfect kindness, even if it means giving up your uniqueness? And that's where episode 3 leaves us. No easy answers, just a raw of longing, loss, and philosophical challenge. Carol's not a perfect hero, and the hive is not a villain. Instead, you're left to ponder your own place in this world. Would you fight for messy human agency, or surrender to blissful collective peace? This episode doesn't let you pick a simple side, and that's exactly why it hits so hard. Thanks for watching. If you found this recap interesting, I want to hear your thoughts. Would you join the hive or hold out like Carol? Drop a comment. Smash that like button, share it if you think your friends should start watching Pluribus. And don't forget to subscribe for more breakdowns and deep dives. See you next time.